Tommytoon Stories presents The Cryptilog, Episode 5, Fly in a Web. Hello, curious minds. This is The Cryptilog, and I am your host, Mr. Crypt. I first wanted to say thank you for the support so far. And today, we are checking out a story that, from first skimming through, seems to have taken place in Japan. Always wanted to visit there, so I hope this doesn't sway that too much. I'm not sure how to start this, but I had an encounter with something in Japan. Honestly, for a long time, I didn't even remember this story. Flashes of it would play in my nightmares, and I always thought that's all it was. But now, I am certain it is not a phantom within my mind, and was in fact something horrible that I encountered when I was a kid. My father was active in the military when I was a child, stationed in Japan, and was given quarters for the family. So, we moved to Hokkaido, and after all those years spent, my Japanese was better than my English at times. I've long since forgotten the language beyond broken sentences, and not understanding it if spoken too fast. The area where we're based was pretty close to a small forested area that had a small creek bed that, according to local legend, once crawled with a band of kappa, a type of aquatic yokai. Though we didn't believe in the creatures, I was told to stay clear of the creek and those woods. But something about it kept drawing my attention. A curiosity about the place. Maybe because it was so forbidden to go to? Whatever the reason, it did compel me more and more to go. While for a time I never did act on it, I knew someone who was itching to do so. A friend of mine who'd I'd meet one day while eyeing the woods. A Japanese girl named Akemi. We spent many days together playing. I'd talk about stuff from back in the US, and Akemi would always be listening intently. Though, thinking back, one thing that should have been a red flag to me was how Akemi would try to avoid talking about herself and her home, and was always trying to coax me further into the woods. One day, when I went to hang out with Akemi, I noticed something was off. She was always punctual, with her often jokingly saying that I'm late. This time, she was the one who was late. In fact, she wasn't even where we'd go to hang out at. Instead, I saw what looked like a bit of a spider web, which immediately struck me as very odd. Mind you, there were spiders in those woods. Nothing that wasn't uncommon for the area, with some decently sizable orb weavers patrolling some of the branches. There was no spider on the web, but there was something there. A small bit of Akemi's hair. To be frank with you, I was terrified. I had no idea what happened, or what could be going on. Nothing about it felt right. It gave me this horrible sinking feeling in my stomach. And that was when I began to hear it. "Help me! Please, help me!" I remember hearing Akemi's voice in the woods saying that, and even now I feel chills. While it was stupid for me to do, I decided to delve into the woods to search for Akemi. And honestly, I don't know if things would have gone better if I'd gone to get to help. "Help me! Please, help me!" The woods had an oppressive air of eerie stillness when I'd entered. It felt like nothing alive but the trees and grass were present. I also began to notice more and more spider webs in between branches of trees. Despite my fears, I felt this pull towards the deep recesses of those woods, like I was under some kind of spell or something. I know it sounds ridiculous. Eventually, I'd find myself at an unfamiliar place with a pond and a waterfall. There was no immediate signs of a chemi or anything other than the waterfall. But I found myself heading towards the waterfall, finding what looked to be a cave entrance of some sort. And I went in, not knowing this would be the day I'd become forever terrified of spiders. Inside was an even more unnatural amount of webbing, coating the dark walls of the cave and wrapping small to human-sized masses that I still shudder thinking about. I heard a chemi down further in the cave, though now I was finally starting to regain control of my legs bit by bit, and I wanted out, quickly. But I could feel that something was watching me. It was a Jorogumo, a nightmare made all too real. I didn't know what a Jorogumo was exactly at that moment, but I knew this thing, this monster, it was dangerous, and I needed to run. And so I ran harder than I'd ever ran in my entire life. I screamed with terror as I could hear the Jorogumo giggling. It was laughing, reveling in my fear. Trying to turn the corner of a tree, I was met with a horrific sight. Plastered upon the base of the tree was a child-sized mound of webs, and staring at me was at first a vacant face of a baby girl, one that began stirring to life. Then I'd noticed several others doing the same, and spidery legs began to protrude from the webs. It dawned on me quickly. I wasn't the Jorogumo's target. I was meant to be its baby's dinner. With no time to think about where I was going, I just kept running. With the sounds of babies crying with hunger and scuttling spider legs echoing in the trees. As I got closer to a creek near the edge of the woods, I felt a sudden tug at my backside that lurched me onto the ground. I choked a scream as the air was knocked from my lungs. Soon after, I was being dragged across the ground. I could hear the cries of the baby Jorogumo becoming louder and louder, followed by amused giggling of the Jorogumo who had previously worn the face of a chemi. The visage now was more akin to an adult human woman, with a split-apart face revealing spidery eyes, a large set of black mandibles, and a mouth of jagged backwards-facing teeth. Squirming with no avail, I thought myself doomed to be nothing but dinner for these abominations. Though, one thing my parents had taught me: always be prepared for the worst. I kept a pocket knife on me in my right pocket. Quickly reaching into my pocket and brandishing it, I wildly began swinging at what I'd assumed to be a web. By some miracle, I managed to free myself. However, as I stood up, I saw one of the babies leaping at me. Its small, split-apart face, with jaws and mandibles wide open, headed straight for my stomach. Instinctively, I swung my knife to intercept my attacker. I managed to stab it right in the thorax, and it bled this thick, black, inky blood. I left my knife behind and ran from those woods, and never went back. That day on, I gained, I'd say, a well-deserved fear of spiders. This story definitely puts a damper on the prospects of going to Japan. At least, anywhere there is wilderness. Nevertheless, this story does pose an interesting question. Assuming these things are real, where did they come from? And I am noticing something of a pattern. Black blood. What could it mean? End of log. The Cryptilog is a horror audio series written and directed by Tommytoon Stories. Narration provided by Dreamrayz. See you next time.